Écrivez le parchemin de la mer Morte depuis 2000 ans.
That is Tamar. That's my namesake. This kind of tree. We're standing here at the Dead Sea. Oh, maybe halfway south from the northern tip, still along the western edge. About a left downwind of beam runway 36, that sort of thing. These hills are just marvelous. This whole area feels more biblical to me. The Dead Sea Scrolls were not found on these hills. They were found in hills just like these, a few miles north, to the north. I kind of shot them from inside the bus. Kind of see off in the distance the other hills on the other side. Right, Joe?
Yeah.
And here, the cable car at the bottom, that white car, is what people use to get to this home. Which some people are hiking on themselves all the way to the top. We can see where we're going up. We're at the top now of Masada. There's the cable car area that we came up on. And that's the town down there where the bus is. There's the Dead Sea. Look at this desolate land. The Romans took this hill harder than hell to believe.
Okay, Mrs. South Africa, are you there?
Nice town. This is South America as well.
What we are doing is waiting at the moment at the entranceway as people waited in the time of Herod. Ici, depuis 2000 ans, on attendait pour le droit à entrer. Nous avons le droit à entrer et nous allons à l'autre côté de Masada pour commencer notre explication. We are going to go right over the other side of Masada to start our explanation. In other words, I'm going to go across the top without stopping.
At the top of Masada, we just look around and see those ruins over Joe's head. And there's the Israeli flag. It was Herod the Great that built Masada as an escape house. He wasn't Jewish, in case the Jewish people turned against him. Note the style of construction. Big rocks, little rocks in between them, no mortar. That's what they used. So the same thing. And it was Herod the Great's son, we're told by our tour guide, Herod the Not So Great, who turned Jesus into a pilot. Actually, there is some mortar in between the rocks. Not much, but there is some in there.
We are a very big group, and two people disappeared. So, please help me by keeping together as much as possible. Very often you'll want to submit, because that's what the Romans did. They saw that it was not possible to conquer Masada from that side. They came this side. You see, that's much higher. On peut voir qu'il est romain. Il a bien cette côté parce que cette côté c'est beaucoup plus haut. So let's maybe wait 1 minute with the drinking so that... Okay, 1 moment and I will, at the end you will have time to fill up and everything. The Romans found that the only way to get to the top would be to come to this side to fill in the earth between the valley, to fill in between the mountain over there and this mountain here, and then build a ramp to the top. It took them 3 years to do it. But eventually they got to the top of Masada. They broke down the wall that had defended the whole of the plateau, and it was nighttime. Now they made a decision which was to make a very special historic fact. The decision of the Romans when they broke down the wall that defended Masada was, not to continue the attack that night, to wait for the next day. They simply thought they would lose too many soldiers in the houses. So they decided to go back down to their camp and come up and fight the next day. Les Romains, Ilaron Masada got together and they began to make a very important decision. They said, look, the Romans have been down there for 3 years. They've been in the middle of the desert for 3 years. And they've been fighting us for 3 years. They have not been able to go back to their homes and their wives and their families because of us. So, when they come up tomorrow, don't expect them to be nice. What you can expect is like this. Your children will be killed in front of your eyes. Your wives will probably be raped before they will be killed too. And then you will be tortured and killed yourselves. So, the leader of Masada said, why wait for all that? Let us now commit suicide and die free men. If we die free men, we die for what we believe in. If we live to be slaves, then everything we've done here means nothing. So he suggested, commit a mass suicide. Everybody. So that when the Romans come up the next day, there can be no victory for the Romans. And that's what happened. During the night, 1,000 people committed a mass suicide. They committed a mass suicide so that the next day, when the Romans came up, the hill was empty. You can't have a victory over an empty hill. The victory went to people who were willing to die for what they believe in. It's very easy sometimes to live for what you believe in. It's much harder to actually die for what you believe in. Why this is a symbol for the Jewish history is probably quite obvious. Very often in our history we have to die for the things we believe in. It's a symbol because we are a minority people. This was a religious war.
Inside Herod's western palace, you can see how some of the stuff was shaped. There's a mosaic on the floor. There's another reservoir lizard drinking water next to the mosaic. There's more tile on the floor. She explained that the black on the floor down there is from the Jewish zealots.
Depuis 2000. We go to the famous man.
She explained that the dying for your religion was really a symbol of where minorities are often wrong. The majorities are not decided as a symbol of any minority who is not necessarily wrong just because they're a minority.
When you look down, that's when you begin to ask a major question. You begin to ask how the Romans could build. If these people are up here, all you have to do is take a big rock, throw it down. Nobody could build anything. Quand on arrivait ici, il faut demander une question. Vous voyez, il y a quelqu'un qui descendait là-bas. On peut voir très bien une personne là-bas. C'est le Romain. Any construction, just by throwing a few boulders, or a little bit of boiling oil, or anything, some arrows, whatever. Well, you remember we said that these people were very, very religious, right? You remember? Now, in the Jewish religion, there is one law that cannot be broken. Most of our laws we break, and it's okay. God forgives that. But there are a few laws which we are not allowed to break, and one of them says this. It says, you cannot kill your brother to save yourself. This is an unbreakable law. It is not forgiven if you break this law. That is, a brother, another Jewish person. What did the Romans do? They brought Jewish slaves. The people who built this ramp were not the Romans. This was slaves taken by the Romans in Jerusalem and brought here. So they could see by the clothes the people were wearing, because you could see clearly everything here, that these were Jewish people. It would mean they would kill their brothers to save themselves. Life would have no meaning. So they had to watch as the ramp got higher. is, as it's written on the side, probably the
oldest synagogue in the world.
the synagogue, the purification of all of
The whole community comes in.
different because it was made of earth and wood. Now, when the Romans came up to the top of Masada, they began to bang with siege engines. You know the kind of Roman siege engines? The balustrade.
Ariete.
Et quoi?
Ariete.
Yeah.
Ariete.
Ariette? C'est possible?
Oui, c'est
Une ariette? Quelque chose comme ça. The banging would loosen the rocks and the wall would come falling down. But when that first wall had fallen down, they came to the earth wall. Now when you bang an earth wall, it gets harder. Les premiers murs, les décidaient fait le feu pour détruire le deuxième mur. So the Romans decided, in order to destroy the earthwork wall, they would make a fire because the earthwork was based on wooden beams, and in these beams the earth was made. And then something very unusual happened. Have you noticed while we're sitting or while we're walking around, the wind is changing all the time direction? All the time. What happened that night was this. The very first moment that the Romans set fire to the wall, the flame went against the Romans. Now these people, the zealots, very, very religious. When they saw the flame going against the Romans, they said, God is with us. But in one moment the wind changed and went against the wall, and the wall was destroyed. And so they said the only thing that they could understand as religious people, God had left them. That was the basis of their decision to make suicide. They felt that God was no longer with them. Qu'est-ce qui se passe maintenant? 8 camps.
So we're
The
only one
Romans
camp.
constructed 8 camps
One of the 8.
for their soldiers. Now the wall is the most surprising thing. Can you see that little wall down there? Looks very ineffectual, right? I mean, what good would that wall do? When it was written about this wall, it was written, nobody shall go out of Masada and nobody shall come in. Nobody should go out, that's easy to understand. Nobody from up here will be able to escape. But why nobody should come in? Who would want to come into Masada? The Romans were worried. The Romans were worried because they didn't want the people up here to know that anyone else knew they had continued the resistance. They didn't want anybody to come along and say, okay, we know you're holding out against 10,000 Romans, carry on, we'll come to help you, because that would raise the morale. The Romans were trying to break the morale. They kept calling up from down there, what are you holding out for? Your days are numbered, you might as well come down now, shorten your sorrows, shorten your troubles. They were trying to demolish.
We're in a bathroom, public bath, or just for years. I don't know how to shoot it because I don't know all these things that out of the ground. Just show how it's in here. Walls and windows there.
By the way, just out of interest, did you notice how thick the wall was when we came from the temple room to the hot room? You saw how
This
thick
is the
that
hot
wall
room
is?
right here.
The hot room was a sauna bath, and a real sauna bath. It worked on a one-piece system called, don't worry, we'll have someone go down and get it. What did you draw? You want me to go down? Fine.
I'll tell you that later. Just some more Masada.
You see that wall?
But a lot of it's been restored. Somewhat. Southern Dead Sea, Land Bridge, Northern Dead Sea. Herod's Northern Palace. We were in it. You know, this is part of it. And this down here,
The palace, the northern palace, we saw the 3 steps from the
This is the
bas,
3 steps
up
on
one of
the-
the steps, goes down another 3 steps. Ça c'est le palais de Nord.
this man had an outrageous
3
palace here.
étages, 3 marches, nous avons bossé.
Here's Masada, right there. The 3 steps on the right side, that's Herod's North Palace.
This These people are taking mud baths. I guess you can see them. They wipe the mud all over themselves. And they rinse it off. Dead Sea. See how their bodies are floating? Half out. See? That's because the Dead Sea, 34% salt, 10 times as minerally as the ocean. You can't sink in it, it's heavier than you are. How's it look and feel, Joe?
Very, very warm. Very, very
What's the
warm.
consistency?
Can't tell the difference between that and any other water.
Oh, now see in the top right-hand corner it says, rec. See, wait. See, right now you are recording. See,
Okay.
REC?
Recording, okay.
See REC up there?
Yeah.
Now push again.
Okay.
The Dead Sea, of course, is so salty and minerally, nothing can live in it. Not sharks, not piranhas, which makes it perfect for a few mammals to come and visit periodically. I love those hills. Egypt. Here we are. It's been a long time. Supposedly that pyramid right there has over 2 million blocks of stone, each weighing over 2 tons. We're going to go into it. Right there is the entrance. We're going to go into that thing today or tomorrow or both. And you can see now where we're staying. That's the pyramid of Khufu, the second one. The big one was built in the 4th dynasty, I believe, by Khufu. This is where we're staying. Mena House Hotel. Sadat and I forget, was it Jimmy Carter, worked on the peace agreement with Israel from her. There you go. This guy won't leave me alone, he wants me to ride his camel.
Excuse me.
People are going in those halls. That one. But they not seem to be going in that one, which is more interesting to me, I think, at this point. Here's a good example of how they can fashion the stones very closely together. Pretty straight lines. And there. Another example. Two pretty good lines. So here, at the Great Pyramid of Cheops, as they refer to it, which is really a Greek derivation of the Great Pyramid of Khufu, Joe and I have just gone inside the pyramid, to the Queen's Chamber and to the King's Chamber. That gateway that I showed you earlier, which is on the north face right there, the lower one where the people are going in, that is where we entered. And you go through a tunneled area that was dug, I think, about 900 years ago. You intersect at about the point where the granite plug is on your way up the stairs. The granite plug, was, I think that was put in place when the thing was being built. You go up narrow passageways you have to hunch over. Then you get into the grand hallway to the top, which is grand, but it cost 200 pounds to take this camera in there, so I didn't do it. King's Chamber. The Queen's Chamber is about half the size of the King's Chamber, and it has a cathedral ceiling. King's Chamber is rather large, has an empty sarcophagus in the middle, and There's nothing there, nothing there. Gives one the impression the king may be buried in there somewhere else and we haven't found the passageway. The Sphinx is over there. Then, over there is the pyramid of Khafra. There's the pyramid of Khafra. It still has some of the limestone topping on it, which the Grand Pyramid had, or the pyramid of Khufu. And when these things were new and built, they were rather white and shiny. You could see them forever. Now, Khafra here was a pharaoh after Khufu, the Great Pyramid. And his pyramid right there is tied to the Sphinx, which is to the left. You can't see it right now. And they think he built the Sphinx. I'm not so sure. Marvelous. And our hotel is over there. Joe and I noticed as we walked into the big pyramid that when we looked at the walls that were constructed of granite in the king's chamber, etc., along the edges, these walls were put together so they were almost seamless blocks. You couldn't put a razor blade in there if you had to in between the stones. Perfect. And the rooms were square. These people had woodworking or stoneworking abilities that I have difficulty imagining. I'm just standing here on the west face of the looking at those marbles. These stones just reach out to me. Standing here in the hot desert sun looking at these things, it feels wonderful.
Stand here, you're going this way, move this
This guy wants me to ride his camel.
Move that side, don't worry. Don't worry, be happy. Like this, Halonka, his name Halonka.
He wants me to ride
Come, you stand with me here, say. Come on, you stand with me. Come, you stand beside me.
It's on the south face of the Great Pyramid. This guy wants us to ride his camel.
Like that.
There's the Sphinx, carved out of the ground. Head usually sticks up out of the ground. Body was carved out of the ground. Body usually covers up with sand for 1,000, 1,500 years at a time. The head gets weathered. Shoot it more closely later. Khafra's second largest pyramid behind, next to the greatest pyramid. I'm now looking west, northwest. He wanted me to take his picture, so I did. These are the archways to the original entrance into the tomb. Whatever it is, right there below it, you can see where we go in, where everybody goes in. Doing the 180 right there is the Mena House. Our room is right there on that end. I know, I just keep shooting these pyramids, but I can't help it. It's so grand and beautiful from here inside the Mena House gardens. Just so grand and beautiful. I just had to shoot this up. This is inside the Mena House Hotel. This is where Sadat and Carter do their meetings here in Cairo. Magnificent hotel. And we're inside the not expensive hotel. This place is gorgeous. People are looking at me filming. Don't you just love this place? And this is the cheap cafe in the hotel. Right, Joe? He's tired. I walked him all over creation. And look at this view out the window. Right there it is. Oh my goodness. Stark desert over here. Just a moment ago we were over there. You can see the trees, and then all of a sudden they all quit. Stark desert, nothing here. We're approaching Saqqara, west of Memphis. Necropolises are always west, they tell us, of the city. And right here is the step pyramid of Zoser, I believe, created by Imhotep, great architect of his time. This was built prior to the Great Pyramid of Khufu. Look at that. Some more Sahara Desert. There's the third Great Pyramid. The three Queen's Pyramids are behind it. Carefully.
Let's have a picture here with the camera. Hello. How are you?